Good day. I am going to be in recording. Well, I'm in the process of recording a solution. Not really a solution, but more of a path through the article that I've assigned for you to read and answer questions about this coming week. And what I'm going to do is just kind of point out areas of the paper where solutions are, but I'm kind of doing it in an informal way. So as if I'm reading it, I don't have anything pre-planned. I have a list of the questions or the things that I'm looking for, right? That's probably a better way of putting it, things I'm looking for. So I'm looking for the research question. I'm looking for type of study. I'm looking for exposure. I'm looking for outcome variable or variables. I'm looking for unit of analysis. And I'm looking and I'm going to try to do most of this part in the abstract. So this is the, even though it doesn't say here, this is the abstract. Okay, so the start of the paper is usually the abstract, okay? Then after I complete that, that's going to be in the first part of the paper. We're going to look at internal validity, external validity, data analysis, and conclusions. Actually, conclusion is also in the abstract, and then it's expanded out. So with that, and we can see the label here, right here, inclusion. So first of all, research question. This is a statement, not a question, but literacy education as treatment for depression in patients with limited literacy and depression, right? Okay, the objective to determine whether literacy education provided along with standard depression treatment to adults and limited literacy would result in greater improvement in depression than with standard depression treatment alone. So there we go. This is the research. This is essentially the research question stated as an objective. And now inside the research question, as you can see, so you've got that checked off already. You're going to see the exposure and the outcome. Remember in your research design that you did that too. So that's a good spot to look for that. So literacy education, this is the exposure. And some of this I already know because I know this paper, right? But literacy education, we can see here as treatment, okay? So now when you see the word treatment, you're thinking, is this an experiment possibly or not? But we're jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit. So we have the exposure provided along with standard depression. So it seems that, and I'm going to do a little mapping here, we have people who have limited literacy. That's our unit of analysis, right? We have a group of people. I'm going to make this a little bigger. With limited literacy. And depression. Okay, then that seems like some of them are going to get a treatment. So this is the exposed. Exposed equals yes. Exposed equals no. So exposed equals no. They get standard depression treatment, okay? Standard depression treatment. And exposed is get literacy training, education, sorry, plus standard depression treatment. So they both get this standard depression treatment, but so then this is the exposure. This is exposure. Okay, so you need to spell that out. That's separate from standard depression treatment. All right. So we have the exposure, literacy education, and improvement, greater improvement in, and so this is categorical, right? Because we have two categories of people. Improvement in depression, then would standard, so now improvement in depression. So that's what we want. We want outcome Now the question is whether this is a categorical or measurement variable. Right now, we don't know. So this comes from just from playing around the research question. We've already taken, we got the research question, we got the exposure, we can pick out the outcome, and we can get the unit of analysis. So from this analysis of just this early part in the abstract, we can get a lot of good information. So let's look at the for outcome, because we still don't know improvement in depression, whether it's is it measurement or categorical. All right. So participants, 70 adult patients, community health center who tested positive for depression. So we already have that unit of analysis, people with depression. So this is unit. Okay. And is it a sample? So this is for, we're heading towards external validity. 70, so this is sample size. Design randomized clinical trial. Aha. What do we have here? This is type of study. Okay, so it's experimental. As soon as we see randomized clinical trial, we see that. Okay, assigned either to an intervention group that received standard, okay, blah, blah, blah. We already got that in here. Okay, so some of the stuff gets repeated. Okay, so we have the unit analysis, we have the outcome, we have the exposure. Now we have the type of study. So this is, we've got the main part. So if you look at the template, basically you have half the marks towards your you're going for mastery 8 out of 10, so you have basically 5 marks already in this first little section. So this is where reading the whole paper, you don't always need to do it to figure out what's going on. What we don't have yet, we don't have this, is it measurement or categorical? And here we have measurements. So this will tell us maybe depression severity was assessed PHQ-9 score. As soon as you see the word score, baseline and 3 follow-up evaluations took place up to 1 year after study. Changes in PHQ-9 scores between baseline follow-up were compared between intervention and control. So changes, or is it really about changes? So let's scroll down now. So since you have your decoding skills, let's scroll down to the table of values to see what's going on with the outcome. So remember, I talked about this in class. This is table 1. This is baseline, i.e. shows clarity of treatment versus control groups to help with validity. Okay, so internal validity. So here we have a graph. Now it's still hard to tell. This is PHQ-9. Looks like this is PHQ-9 score. Okay, measured from 0 to 16. Okay, so we see that it goes down. And then we have here, we have PHQ-9 scores. So we're interested in the score, right? So we got the median of the score. Once you see you're comparing medians. So compare medians. Is an indication, I don't know what that 7C is about, that outcome is measurement. Okay, so that's good information. So we say it's not categorical, it is measurement. See table 2. That's your best evidence for that, right? Because here it's still talking about improvement. Improvement, yes or no, could be could be categorical. All right, so that's where, when they're saying changes could be either way. So and then we see it here. The median PHQ-9s were similar in intervention control groups. So we see the same final follow-up PHQ-9 scores declined to 6 in the intervention group and only to 10 in the control group. So this is another hint. Outcome is measurement. If it was categorical, they would do something like odds ratios or relative risk, something like that. So we've taken care of a good chunk of the work, and we're at 10 minutes, 10, 11 minutes, and I'm doing a lot of talking. So now the next to look for is internal validity, external validity, data analysis. Okay, and conclusions. Here we have the conclusions here, right? So we don't have to see abstract. So it depends on the question I ask. What I could ask is something like, what conclusions did the authors make and what numbers did they refer to? So in the abstract, the results plus the conclusions would be needed, right? Because they talk about the PHQ-9 scores declining to 6 in the intervention group and only to 10 in the control group. So a score of 6 means less depression. Score of 10 means higher depression score. So that's a good thing. You want the treatment group to be lower. Okay. So we look at, for external validity, what you're looking for is sampling, generalizability, selection bias, right? And internal validity, you're looking for measurement error, you're looking for confounding, and other biases. The quickest way to go through this is to go, okay, I'm going to go through a couple things. So first of all, when they describe the methods, partly what they're doing is describing that this is to show strength, validity, I think, of measures that they're using. Okay, so that's the realm score. Now we go to let's see if there's something about how they did sampling, right? Well, patients in the intervention group received the same standard treatments for depression. That's, again, internal validity. And I'm not going to be asking you to find every example of how they helped with internal validity. I'm just basically going to be looking for, okay, do you understand and are you able to find at least one, or to discuss one of the ones that, the types of internal validity that I discuss or I ask for. Okay, subject enrollment. So this is going to be, is this sampling? Is this recruitment? Okay, is there a target population? Okay, so if we're talking about external validity, that's kind of the first thing we have to look for. So patients were eligible for participation if they scored positive for depression. Okay, fine. The eligibility requirements, so that's the exclusion criteria, included age, communicate, converse, project staff in English, not currently under treatment for depression, no diagnosis of dementia, etc., etc. This is all internal validity stuff, right? They're showing you PHQ-9 scores are valid. Realm is also, that's the literacy assessment. Randomization is also internal validity. And then they show the treatment they use. They discuss that. Outcome measures. This is a PHQ-9. That's again discussion. Internal validity. So you see that a lot of the conversation isn't really about the results. It is about establishing in a full paper, establishing that the measures that they're using, the methods that they're using are valid and appropriate. Here we have a specific section on data analysis. The randomization, remember, so your fast thinking brain doesn't do this, does not equal random sampling. And I don't see any evidence of random sampling here. They didn't really discuss a subject enrollment, community health center, predominantly a poor clientele, communities adult basic literacy education programs housed on site health center. Okay, so there's no sampling method. It looks like it was just a convenience sample. But they give you, right? They give you a description of the population, so that gives you a sense of who the target population may be. Scrolling down. Let's go to limitations where they might have something about sampling, external validity. Our study results are subject to a number of limitations. One limitation, our sample size was small. Here we go. Sample size was small, raising the possibility of difference in depression scores were due to chance. That may be true. I'm more concerned about their sampling method. Small sample prevented us from determining whether there was a dose-response relationship. Aha, remember this is causation. Too few subjects determined whether those with the greatest degree of improvement. Right, we also could not determine whether there's one educational modality. Second limitation was not designed to determine degree of limited literacy. So this is internal validity. This was about external. But you notice that they didn't really discuss the sampling method. So that would be a criticism that you can come up with. We're heading towards 20 minutes. So I'm going to cut that down. I hope end the video. Hope that it helps you make your way through this and other solutions.